I got you. We're gonna get through this. You're gonna post your first video. It's gonna be phenomenal. And you're gonna be a booktuber. So you want to start a booktube. Well, awesome. Immediately going into the snowplow. But anyways, I'm here to help. All right, that's what this video is. A year ago, was looking for the same sort of content, and I needed someone just to tell me, like, what exactly do I do? How do I edit? How do I film? How do I actually upload my video? What category does it go into? How do I know how to do titles or thumbnails? I was just so lost, you know? So I'm imagining you're in the same space. You probably have the same thoughts I did. You're probably scared, thinking, maybe I shouldn't post this video even though I already filmed it and attempted to edit it. Or you're starting to think that like whatever you said doesn't have value or that no one's gonna watch you, or you're already thinking about what happens if you go into a book slump. I get it. It's overwhelming. I'm here to get you through it though. Okay, I'm gonna give you a step-by-step guide. We're gonna go over everything. I'm not just gonna say, edit out your breaths, which was my biggest pet peeve. I'm really not trying to like crap on anyone right now, but when I was looking for videos about editing, that's like the only thing people tell you. We're gonna go over more, okay? We're gonna actually talk about the software and how to trim it and how to put clips together, all that jazz. It won't be crazy overwhelming. It will still be beginner level, but I'm not just gonna tell you to edit out your breaths. I'm actually gonna show you how to edit. I'll also talk about filming and the gear, the thumbnails and your name and your set design. I'll give you just generalized tips and whatnot, okay? I got you. We're gonna get through this. You're gonna post your first video. It's gonna be phenomenal. And you're gonna be a booktuber. So that's exciting. Firstly, let me just state that this video isn't gonna be about like how to get monetized, how to get subscribers, how to get like your watch hours, things like that. That's not this. This video is purely to help you get your first video out there, help you on your pathway, help you figure out your style, all that jazz. Secondly, the other thing I want to state before we actually get into everything, I just want you to understand that YouTube is very different than other jobs, if you will. This is a hobby for me, but it's very different than other jobs in the sense that you can work exceptionally hard, and I mean insanely hard. You could put so many hours into one video. That's not going to guarantee success, okay? So I just want you to start your journey knowing that, because then you're not going to get deflated if that happens. And that also does not mean that if you put all this work into this video, that means people don't like you. That's actually something else I should state before we start. Especially when you first start, no one's really watching you. YouTube doesn't know you yet, so you're not really thrown into the algorithm. You also don't know how to really do your stuff yet, so you don't have a lot of eyes on you. You haven't proven that you're constantly there, so you're not being put in front of a lot of people. So if you feel like no one's watching you, you're just gonna stop. It takes time, and you need to just realize that that doesn't mean that you don't have any value. Do not put your self-worth into how people are watching you, or how many people, or what the watch time is. Okay? Really, you need to separate that now. Overall, you're gonna love it. But I just want you to have those two things in your head. That way you won't get disappointed later on. All right? So, that being said, where we're gonna get started here, I think we should go ahead and talk about your name, because you're probably like, I don't know what to call myself. Or you're thinking, I don't want anybody to find me. Anyone that you know, basically, to find you. And what I'm gonna say is you can totally have just like a bookish name that doesn't have your real name in it, but I would recommend that you do use your real name. So like mine is Maggie's Books and Stuff, so it has my first name in it. I think that would be very smart, because people are basically gonna kind of be your friends as they watch you. They're gonna get to know you, get to know your opinions. So having your name already in the title is good. It's up to you, but I do recommend that you somehow work your name into it. That's really the simple part. I know the name might seem overwhelming. Don't think too hard about it. Just get started. You can change your name later. Again, not many people are watching you right now, so don't stress over it. The second thing we're gonna go over, we'll talk about your set before we get into like the equipment. So as you can see behind me, I just basically redid this area. This is my new office. You can do a variety of different things. Don't feel like you have to have like a nice pretty bookcase. Don't feel like you have to have a painted office with artwork or whatever. Do with what you have. I will give you a couple tips to make it a little bit more interesting, if you will. Don't stress over it, okay? So, talking about the background. Okay, sorry, coming in a little creepy. Your set design here. Naturally, you're gonna wanna stand in front of your books. That's already a visual interest and something that you already know your viewers are going to enjoy. So I have a couple tips if you do this. I have my bookcase behind me and it's just flat behind me. So one thing is it's kind of dark at the moment. You can see it's bright here because of a light that I have, but it's not reaching up there. If you can be filming in a spot where you naturally have natural light from a window, which I do, but there's a storm, so you're probably going to hear shoveling and snow blowers and all that jazz. If you can film in a space or film at a time where you have a lot of natural light, that will be best. If you don't, we'll talk about light rings later. So if you're standing on your bookcase, and we'll pretend that it's nice and bright, tip number 1 is to stand further away. Naturally, me here, I'm more distinct already than the bookcase behind me. So that's one tip. The second tip is if you can actually move your positioning to where you're more at a corner. So now you can see the bookcase is on this wall and then I have artwork on this wall. But the thing is I'm standing in the corner of the room, basically. So the natural line of the corner in the wall is pointing to me, which sounds weird, but it naturally makes people want to look at you because everything's basically kind of turning into me. So that's a really good tip for trying to figure out where your set design is. But let's say you don't have anything behind you, or maybe you don't have a book collection like this. Maybe you don't even really keep books. You just get stuff from the library. I got you. Let's go on to the next tip. So I apparently don't have a plain wall in my house because I'm a maximalist. But the thing with the plain wall is just stand in a corner. All right, so the line of the corner is basically lined up with you, and you could even add like a chair or a pottery plant, whatever it might be, on one of the walls. That gives you a little visual interest. But honestly, you don't need to be like super stressed about this. These are just little tips. If you just sit down and film anywhere, that's good. You're just getting started, okay? But if you don't have the space that I showed you before with the bookcase, or you don't have a plain wall, head over to where your couch is. Personally, my couch is different than the color of my wall and the curtains. It's likely the same thing for you. And I'm at an angle again. So you can see it's just visual interest. That's all it really is. But again, just sit down and film anywhere. Don't stress about this. These are just little tips you can think about. But on to the next thing. So let's talk gear now. You've probably heard this other places, and this is very, very true. Just like how the set isn't something you need to stress about, your gear you don't need to stress about. Don't start your journey with your first video having a DSLR camera, going out and buying audio. Just use your phone. Seriously, just use your phone. The biggest thing in the beginning is you're gonna be nervous just to even film a video. You're not gonna be comfortable on camera yet, or you're not gonna be comfortable with the idea that you're gonna be posting yourself onto the internet. So those are kind of your first goals to focus on getting more comfortable. Later on, especially if you decide like, yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna do this, I'm gonna be consistent, then you can start investing into things. Use your phone in the beginning. Straight up, use your phone. As far as software goes for editing, YouTube already has its own creative studio where you can do that. I honestly don't know how to use that because that's not what I used. I used a different free platform. It's called Vinci Resolve. I'll link it down below. You can buy it for like having additional features, but just the free version is really all you need. You're gonna have different transitions, and you'll have audio transitions and different filters, things that you can play with. And I think it's personally better than YouTube Studio. It just has a lot more functionality. And eventually you are gonna want more functionality and you'll have to switch to another program. So I just invested my time into learning an already existing specific video software. I highly recommend it. Highly, 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 highly recommend it. And again, it's free. I will be showing you editing through DaVinci, not through YouTube Studio. Okay? That being said, if you're at a point where you're like, okay, I don't want to use my phone anymore, then I'll tell you the actual equipment that you should use. I'll give you some tips. First thing you invest in is not your camera, but actually your audio. Audio is the number one thing that if you have bad audio, people will jump off your video right away. People are pretty accepting if your video quality visually is poor, but your audio, people don't mess around with that. So the first thing you invest in is audio. Then you invest in lighting. Then you invest in your camera, okay? As far as audio goes, I like having the lavalier mic. as you can tell. I already had equipment from my husband because he's a graphic designer, so he's had a lot of this stuff. So I use a Rode mic if you want to use the one I specifically have, but there's a lot of different great ones out there. I'll link the one I have. It is more expensive, but I will say this. You're just using your phone in the beginning, and you're using the audio of your phone in the beginning. So you don't even have to worry about this yet. Don't invest in this until you know that you're consistent and you want to keep going with YouTube. But if that is the case, go with Rode mic, okay? Rode is the brand. I personally like the lavaliers. I'm holding it right now, but I can clip it to myself. I don't like those cones just because those, honestly, like if you stand further away or if you walk over there, the sound's gonna be different. Where this, I can keep on my body, so it's always gonna sound the same. So I recommend investing in the lavalier. As far as cameras go, you need a DSLR camera. I personally, mine's old. It's a Canon EOS Rebel T7i. I don't even know if they make those anymore. But a lot of people like Canon, a lot of people like Sony. Figure out what works for you. You may use your camera for something else beyond videos. Maybe you're gonna do photography. So you can look into different cameras there. I'll link down below the camera that I'm using or the comparative one if you'd like. As far as lighting goes, again, you're just gonna be standing in front of a light source that you already have. Hopefully it's natural light like a window. But again, if you're in that investment stage, I just have a ring light. My husband bought it for me. I used to try to use all of the big lights that you'd have to set up, and occasionally I still have to. I honestly could have with how dark it's getting now because of the storm. But this ring light has been amazing. Having the ring light with the camera in the center of it has made it so easy because I can just grab and turn on. Trying to minimize your setup as much as possible will help because setting up your set before you even film can take time. So anything that you can simplify is better. I like my ring light and I keep my camera literally attached to it all the time. So I can just pull it, put it where I need, and turn it on. I'll link ring lights down below, but honestly, a lot of them are pretty much all the same. Just make sure you can get ones that go from cool settings to warm settings. And then obviously the other stuff you would need is just kind of like your typical tripod if you're not going to use the ring light or you're not going to invest in lighting yet. You want your batteries. Having an extra memory card is really good. Having at least 2 batteries is good because trust me, your battery will die on you while you're filming. But that's your gear. Again, keep it simple. Use your phone in the beginning. Not until you're in your first investment stage should you move over. And the first thing you're going to do is audio, then lighting, then your DSLR camera. Okay? Cool. Next thing. So now let's actually talk about filming your video, which I know is probably making you uncomfortable, the idea of it, or you've already tried it and you felt like you couldn't do it. I know it's awkward talking to a camera. It will get easier. It will get like riding a bike, honestly. It's going to take a little bit. That's why one of your first things in the beginning, like I mentioned earlier, is you just need to focus on actually filming yourself and actually posting your videos, because those are the 2 biggest hurdles in the very beginning of your career. So my tips for you as far as filming goes. Everyone will tell you treat the camera like a friend, which is great. That is what you need to do. It doesn't really do a lot when you say that, because in the beginning you're like, how? It's a camera, okay? Firstly, if you can, since you're going to be using your phone, flip it the other way so you can't see yourself. All right, that will help. You're going to be distracted by yourself a lot in the beginning. If you want to have it the other way because you have a better camera quality and you can see yourself, that's fine too. But my first tip would be try not to look at yourself, so turn it away. Try the best you can to look at the actual camera lens, because then it's like looking somebody in the eye and like you're talking to your friend. But the third tip that I have that I actually think is the most useful is do your intro more than once. Don't just try to sit down and just power through. Go ahead and sit down, turn the video on, turn your camera on, and just go through your intro. Do it, I don't know, 3 times, 10 times, it doesn't matter. Your first take, you're gonna be very uncomfortable, but by the time you get to like, let's say your 7th time, you get more loosey-goosey and it's much easier to talk to the camera. And honestly, this is just gonna take multiple videos before you really can just see it as a friend, because I'm looking at you right now. It's no problem for me to talk to a camera. I actually don't even feel like I'm by myself in a room anymore, because you're gonna start talking to people through comments and different things that you can be a part of, whether it's readathons or discords. So the camera is naturally gonna start to take on the role of a friend, but that will come later. Beyond that, the other thing with filming is really just your lighting. stand in front of your window or sit in front of your window if you can. If you don't have the option for the window and you have to use lighting, if you have a ring light, awesome. Or if you can just stand in a space where the light will actually illuminate your face. That's it. The biggest thing right now is just turn it on and say your stuff and you're good. And then you got your video. But the next step after filming is editing. So let's get into that. Now, once you're at the actual editing stage, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable watching yourself on the screen. Again, you'll get used to it with time. But editing in the beginning, don't really worry about it so much because you're going to be so nervous just to post and to film. I honestly would say just trim the beginning and the end of your video, and that's it. But if you're someone who wants to try and actually do more, I'll show you some things here. Again, this is all in DaVinci, so I'll show you around it. Just use the free version. It's really, really great. I highly recommend it. It will allow you to grow later on, and then you won't have to relearn a whole new platform because not all video editing software is the same. They have the same features, but they're in different places. They're done in different ways. So if you can just get used to a good one right away, that's what I recommend. Again, I'm not doing YouTube Studio. So jumping into it. All right, so if you open up your DaVinci Resolve, it's gonna load, you're gonna be on your home page, hit Untitled Project here, and you'll see we have a blank space. At the bottom, these are our different pages. The third one's our edit page. I'm gonna remove the filters that's popping up and open Media Pool at the top left. And now I'm right-clicking. If I were to hit Import Media, everything's disorganized. So instead I'm gonna right click and hit New Bin. These are gonna be your organizational folders. Please keep it organized. It will help you later. Just trust me. So this folder I'm gonna call A-roll. This is just basically your main talking head video. And then I'm gonna add a bunch of others like my B-roll, pictures, sound, branding, all that stuff. Set yours up like this too and stay organized. So sound, I'm also gonna add another folder for special effects. Now, once that's done, you can import any of your stuff you use across all your videos. So I'm going into my branding folder, right-clicking and hitting import media and adding like my end card and my intro card, things like that. I'll also add my typical music that I always use, my typical special effects. And then that way I essentially have created an organizational template that I can base all my projects on. So you can see it's Untitled Project right now. So I'm going to hit File, Save Project As, and name it Template. And I basically start every project by opening this up. So now that I have it saved as template, I want to start a new project. So I'm going to hit Save Project As, and this will be my first, like my 1-year anniversary video that we're actually working on today. So that's what I'll name it. And now I can actually hit that import media. So I go to A-roll, right click, import media. I go to where I have my videos saved on my hard drive, and I just click all the videos I want to add. So once those are in the system, I can add it onto my timeline. I have 2 videos here. So I'm just gonna scroll over to the end of this first one and then add my second clip and drop it in. And I have them touching so that way everything's linked together. Now you can use the zoom out or zoom in tool if you want to see like how long your video's roughly going to be. You can zoom in so you can start to see like your waveform. That's what I recommend. This is a huge tip. Edit off of your audio, not so much of your visual all the time. It will help a lot. So you're seeing me kind of just like move the video around, kind of trimming a little bit. I'm trying to get the audio form, honestly, just to show because it can be a pain in the ass and sometimes just not want to pop up. So I'm just going to kind of wiggle this around a little bit until it actually does it. Which, there you go. Now it's there. So now that you see the audio form, this is where it's going to make it easier when I go to actually trim different clips, or if I need to trim out, say, breaths, or if I paused. It makes it way easier and way quicker. Now, let's actually take a look at the interface. I'll introduce you to all this stuff. We did all of the folders, which is our organizational stuff, and at the bottom are the different pages like I mentioned. You want to be on the third one for when you're editing. Honestly, you're going to be here most of the time anyways, about 90%. In the middle, you're going to see our main sort of tools. We have our blade tool, which I'm using right now. We have the pointer tool, which is a little arrow. And then the other thing you're going to use a lot is those plus and minus buttons to kind of zoom in and zoom out on your timeline. Now, if you want to actually start changing a clip, I'm turning on this transform tool, which honestly just links over to the right-hand side here that you see me circling. This is going to allow you to zoom in and zoom out on the clip in the video, not just your timeline there. So if I zoom in, say I want it to be really big or really small, I need to use this right-hand bar, or I can use the actual white box around the image and just use the little dots on the corners to expand it or to move it. I like to use my little arrow like you just saw me do, but you can do either way. If you want to rotate it though, just use the right hand bar, all right? All right, now talking about sound, that's this green waveform here. We're in row 1, so we're gonna be on this audio 1 toggle, which is basically just your volume switch. You move it up and down, that's gonna adjust the volume. You want your space to basically hit between 10 and 15, so you see the green then moving up to yellow. You kind of want it in the yellow spot, never within the red, okay? Now, row 2 is gonna link up to that audio 2 form. So if you have special effects, you can change that toggle to a different volume, all right? Okay, now if we want to go into the clips here, we can start playing around with our filters. So at the top left, hit the filter button. If you turn off the media pool so it's not highlighted, you're going to see it easier. So let's go ahead and hit video transitions. We'll go ahead and mess around with one of them. You need to put it over the middle of 2 clips so it transitions from one into the other. So you need to have it on this line here, all right? But if you want to go ahead and start playing around with like filters on just one individual clip, you go to the filter section and put it directly on a singular clip, like this box blur. It will only blur the Maggie's books and stuff. The rest of the clip is now clear, as you can tell. So that's kind of basically your little intro to the interface now. So if we go on the bottom page, all the way to the right to the rocket, this is where you're actually going to be able to get your video all together as an individual clip. So you're going to want to save this to a specific space, so name it whatever you want to, hit browse, and save it to the folder on your hard drive that you would like. So this is my 1-year anniversary. Hit save, that's set, that's good to go. Scroll down, everything should be good automatically. Hit to render queue, and you see it pop up on the right, and you'll just hit render all. I'm not actually done editing yet. We haven't done our editing, so I'm not going to hit it. But this is where you would go to turn your thing into a movie. Now let's actually edit here. So editing, we're back in our 3rd page. We're going to need to start moving through, cutting things up. You might want to cut breaths. You might want to cut literally entire sentences that you don't really want in the actual thing itself. So firstly, I'm just going to cut the very beginning portion where I'm just kind of moving around. You can go ahead and move it to where the red bar is, or you hit your blade. So this will cut it right on the line, and then you can click it and hit delete. Either way works. So now that I actually have my beginning part set and ready, I can move through the rest of my clips and take everything else out that I don't want. So I start by just basically working on clipping out all the things I don't need. So I'll go through my entire video and I'll get rid of like maybe my breaths or sentences that I don't like. So I essentially watch it and I trim out all the little parts I don't need. So as you can see on the waveform, especially right here, there's this long sort of drawl where I start to think because I can't remember a word. So that waveform, like I mentioned earlier, is key in helping you edit a lot quicker and easier. So I can just go to where there's no sound, hit my blade tool, I put it right over the line, and then I can click it when I go back to my pointer tool and delete. You click it again, you see that little highlight space, hit delete again, and that moves the clip over. Okay, so I basically go through my whole video just like this. So now I'm just kind of moving through and I'm getting over to that second clip where I know there's going to be a big chunk in the beginning I need to remove because it's just me moving around and not talking. So I'm going to kind of move my red line over to the spot where I know I'm going to start. So if I put that right where I need it, I can go ahead and hit my blade tool again, or I can just shift the clip over to the red line like I'm doing here. And again, highlight, delete, moves the clip so it touches the other one. So again, moving through the rest of it, getting rid of the stuff that I don't need. This takes a while. This is going to be called your rough cut. So this is basically taking out any extraneous stuff that you don't need. All right, so if you want to do some extra stuff now, I'm going to show you my branding things. This is basically the end of all my videos is the same. I'm adding in this VHS clip that I have. This is like kind of my little cut part. There's almost like a scratch in my song. So I cut it down, remove the excess, and then I put in my end card. This is going to be the thing where YouTube basically pops up additional videos of yours or additional playlists. So this is my background, so it just fits my branding. This is meant to be about 20 seconds on YouTube, so I'm just zooming out and moving it over to roughly the 20-second mark. I just have to do the math in my head based off of the little numbers at the top of my timeline. And then I'm gonna go ahead and move up the audio form of audio 1 because I need to add something into the second row. This is gonna be my music, so this is kind of my outro music, if you will. Now, I'm going to extend that out and zoom in a little bit so you guys can see, but there's this little screech that's kind of like that medium zone there. So you're seeing that flat vertical part that I just lined up with the VHS tape. I now need to cut it at that even larger flat zone because that's where the music truly starts. So I'm getting rid of that excess VHS again and moving over my end card. Now the other thing is I'm going to add this little ramp up shadow area. This has to do with the volume. So it basically starts really soft on the left and gradually gets larger to the right. Now at the end here, I'm adjusting the volume. So I'm going to play it a little bit and move my toggle on the right hand side to make sure that this music isn't going to blare in your ears and it's a little softer. So I'm just kind of adjusting that toggle to the point of where I really like it. And then I'm just going to need to actually trim the song itself. But you can see I like it in that yellow area. That's why I'm pointing to it. It's basically between 10 to 15. Again, that's the sweet spot. So you just kind of have to play until you get the music to sound at the 10 to 15. Now I'm going to trim it where it starts to kind of dissipate away. So I extend my end card a little bit, and then I have a little black ramp up going to the left, so it will fade out. I'm also going to do that with the music, which means the music will begin to fade out. And these are just little toggles that show up as white on the top right-hand side of the audio form or your clip form. Hopefully that makes sense. Do you hear all that other noise? The vacuum, the dog, the kids. Yeah. Look forward to it, man. So anyways, thumbnails. So for thumbnails, I just use Canva. I just take a picture out of my video. I usually will actually do a little video before I start talking, and it's just me kind of, I guess, posing and just being like, oh, I don't know. Random things. Ignore my phone. But I use Canva. I used it, the free version in the beginning, but then I really wanted to have the outline around myself. But if you want that outline, you see it a lot on thumbnails, you have to use the pro version, which I think is like $12.99 a month, but you can completely get away with the free version. Okay? Don't feel like you have to buy any software or anything just yet. So I'll show you what I do in Canva. Okay, so first things first is I'm just literally looking at my video and I'm gonna be pausing it and taking screenshots so I can use this as my image. So I take a plain shot where I'm not in it, so it could be my background, and then I'll take a shot like this where I'm posing and it's screenshotted, saved directly to my hard drive. When I go into Canva, I'll upload my images, and once they're in, I start by putting the background shot that I'm not in. I'll expand it across the whole thing, which the sizing, by the way, when you just start a new project, just hit YouTube thumbnail. But then I'll add my top layer and go to the background remover. This will require Canva Pro, which is the paid one, but I really love having it, so I like to pay for Canva. So it removes the entire background except for me. So I'll then go into Edit Image and Glow, and I'll change the background to a white glow, or you could do a color. I'll change the size, the transparency, the blur around it. Whatever you end up liking will be your style. So I'm pretty happy with this. So I just hit apply and it's good to go. I then place it, I'll expand it, and then basically beyond that, it's kind of your own thing. You add your text, whatever that might be. Usually it's best to have it something different than your title because there's no point in repeating the same text. So I just put, it's been a year. I start playing around with colors and the effects, having a background color on my text, things like that. But just play, see what you like. My branding's very black and white. I always use the Art Nouveau text, but find your own personal style. I will right click it and hit like put behind me, so that way I myself, I guess, am the very front image, which sounds weird, but I just feel like it looks better that way. And I start adding little doodads, like the YouTube sign here. I'll add some sparkles, things like that. Maybe I'll have a little extra text. It is a good idea not to have a ton of text on your thumbnail because most people are looking at this on their phone. So they're not really going to be reading a lot of text, if that makes sense. So you kind of just want to make it look nice. The other thing is if you keep to a brand like I have with my colors, then everything looks uniform on your page. But once you're done, just go ahead and hit share, download, and it will download onto your desktop. Now from there, that's when we can actually start posting on YouTube. So when you get over here, you just go to your own channel, view your channel, manage videos, and I already have mine uploaded because I can do it directly from DaVinci since I have the paid version. But you would just want to go over to the create button, which is at the top right, and then you'd hit upload. But since mine's already uploaded, I don't need to worry about that. So this is the screen you land in once your video is uploaded. You can do your titles, you can do put in your thumbnail like I just did, you can add your description, all that jazz. So for the title, you usually don't want it too crazy long, but you want some keywords in here. I'm just doing 1 year on Booktube. I may change it later, but you can use paid features to figure out best sort of titles, best SEO, like TubeBuddy and things like that. You don't need it in the beginning, okay? Just get used to posting your videos. So I went ahead and added my title and my description in really quick. This can be whatever you want. I highly recommend you do hashtags at the bottom. This is to help with search features. So I have things like Booktube on here, 1 year anniversary, things like that. So add hashtags, but below there's these other things called tags. These are actually best for like when people misspell words. So have a little extra sort of sentence structure within your tags. Add some words that are misspelled. Below that, that's when you go into your language. Always hit English, if it is English, obviously. And then scrolling down even further, everything should be good except your category. Change it to entertainment. At the top right, you'll see end screen. That's that whole end card I was telling you about in the editing. You just need to move it over to wherever your end card is if you're going to be doing that, and then you decide on your format. Right now I'm clicking which playlist I want to add, and then it already has a video that it will pick, and then I just go ahead and hit save. On the main screen, I'm going to schedule. So this is where if you want to just make it public right away or you want to schedule it for a different date, I put Fridays at 8 a.m. Personally, everybody's time's different. Don't stress on this, but I have mine scheduled ahead, and then I just hit save and it's set and ready to go, which is amazing. So when you go back to your channel, now you'll see the thumbnail, you'll see that it's scheduled and it's ready to go. Don't worry about monetization. That's just for my channel right now. But that's it. That's how you post on YouTube. Again, if you have questions, let me know. All right, general tips now. So let's talk about like consistency or how often you should post. I'm sure you watch Booktube and you've noticed a lot of people, most people, I feel like are kind of around 2 to 3 videos on average, probably 2 videos on average a week. Don't feel like you have to compete with that. I can't even do that. I do 1 video a week, and there's weeks that I take breaks. The last 2 weeks of the year, I just fully take off. But don't worry about that so much right now. If you can only do 1 video a week, 1 video every 2 weeks, a month, whatever it might be, that's perfectly fine. What I will say, I hate the phrase that you have to just be consistent. You do, but I feel like it kind of puts you like, I don't know. It puts so much pressure on me. I think in the beginning, you need to be consistent in the sense of you need to have a goal to try and put up a video, let's say 1 every 2 weeks, just to kind of get you into the routine. If it changes later on, that's fine. If you need a break, that's fine. But the consistency is really more so there to build your routine. okay? Because in the beginning you are going to be nervous. You're going to want to pull out. Might be that you're just uncomfortable or you feel like you're not good, which you're learning, okay? Give yourself some credit. It's going to take time, babe. It takes time for all of us. Or you feel like people aren't watching. You're not seeing those numbers. And again, don't stress about the numbers. Really, really don't. Don't think about the subscribers. It is a blessing in the beginning that people aren't watching you, okay? Because in the beginning, you're messing up. You don't know what you're doing. None of us did. So it's better not to have a lot of eyes on you, because once you have that, you have more pressure. So don't worry about that. Okay? Really, you're doing great, all right? I know you're not, well, you might not be there yet, but once you post your first video, you're gonna be good, okay? You're fantastic, and you're going places. So that's one thing, is definitely, there's the consistency in the beginning of just give yourself a specific deadline. I wouldn't say 2 to 3 times a week. I would say at most once a week, but if you wanna try to hit 1 video every 2 weeks, have that be your deadline. Okay, just to build in that routine. Secondly, as far as filming goes, if you have a very busy schedule, I do too. I basically work 50 hours a week. Basically what you need to do is, if you can batch record, that's good. So if you can spend Saturday morning or something and film 2 videos, then you can edit those over the next 2 weeks. Let's say if you're doing that, to just post 1 every week. Or those could be your 2 videos for the month. You see what I'm saying? Also, try not to get into your head when you get tongue-tied or when you hear noises. I highly recommend this. I struggled with this my whole first year because I'm kind of just obsessive compulsive. But try to ignore that. That's not a big deal. You're human, and the people watching you basically want to be your friend, okay? So they're chill with it. They're not sitting there judging you, okay? I know you feel like they are. They're not. And you can be weird, like me, and people will still like you. So it's going to be okay. I promise. If you're worried that you're going to go into a book slump, all of us do, okay? You can do a video on your book slump. You can talk about it. You can talk about or do a little research on how to get out of a book slump. You can do other bookish related things that don't require reading a book, which is fine. Trust me, I've gone into it. But you can rank your favorite books. You can do like a recommendation video of books you have already read, maybe even if they're ones you've already talked about. I do that on my channel. I've talked about the same book multiple times, you know? Or you do a little research on, like, let's say I did this on dark romance. Set it up of how you believe that dark romance is a genre and how it should be on like a spectrum and what the different spectrum is. You can do funny little things and tier rank the different book covers, things like that. Or books that are coming out, the ones you're most excited for this upcoming year. You know, don't stress. Trust me, you'll have content. You're just worried right now. But you'll have content. You'll probably be worried when you have your book slump too. There's a lot of options. Don't worry. That's when you just research other booktubers' channels. Because trust me, we have all gone through a damn book slump. And then lastly, as far as some like recommendations, if you're joining Booktube, your first video I think should be your Booktube newbie tag, just because that's a great introduction and it's a Q&A. So I feel like that's a little bit easier for you to film. So I highly recommend you do the Booktube newbie tag, whether it's your first video or within your first couple. I recommend you're not hard on yourself in the beginning, which is difficult, but they say your first 100 videos are going to be your worst videos because you're learning, you know, and you got to give yourself time. We're doing a lot as any YouTuber. You're learning how to edit. You're learning how to basically direct yourself. You're learning how to do lighting and audio design. You're learning how to come up with topics. You're learning how to talk about them. You're learning how to freaking market it, I guess, with like SEO. Do a lot of different things. You wear a lot of different hats. So don't be hard on yourself. Like I just said, first 100, those are going to be your worst videos, okay? So if you have that mindset that it's okay if they're not good or they're not great, you'll be in a better place. And again, don't worry about subscribers. Don't worry about people watching you. If people are commenting, definitely talk. You want to be watching other videos. YouTube wants you to, you know, actually interact with it beyond just posting your own content. So interact with other videos, interact with other booktubers, leave comments, have little like discussions in the comments, like videos, subscribe to people, all those different things. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. That was the hardest thing for me. I was so scared to reach out to people. people are really nice, especially booktubers. They want to hang out. They'll want to collab. If they say no, that's fine. A lot of us are busy too. You don't know their schedule. Trust me, there will be people who want to collab. Be a part of readathons. Join them. Do your own thing, whatever it might be. Join Discords. That's how you meet people. That's how you create those relationships. And that will help you along the way too, because you'll meet other booktubers and you can talk about, like, if you want advice, or just ask people like, hey, like, how are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? It will help you, because trust me, whatever you are feeling at whatever point in your career on Booktube, someone else has felt it too. Whether it's great, whether it's bad, doesn't matter. All right, that's it. I hope that helped. Hopefully it wasn't chaotic. Filming it was rather chaotic, so we'll see how editing goes for me, talking about all of this. But I hope that answered your questions. If you have any other questions though, let me know down below and I will definitely try to get back to you. I also have my Discord, I have my free Patreon Discord, The Void, but I also have the Hideaway Discord. So if you're part of that, feel free to reach me on that as well. No biggie, babe. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that's useful. I'll answer any questions that you have, and I literally mean anything. So I will catch you guys later. I'm so proud of you. Definitely link like your video down to me in the comments, and I'll definitely go check them out. Okay? You're going to be great. It's going to be amazing. You're going to have so much fun, cool stuff to look forward to. I know it's daunting in the beginning, but you're going to make great friendships. You're going to have great experiences. And I can't even tell you the difference 6 months makes, let alone a year. All right? It's going to be good. So anyways, bye.